Soft music drifts in, like whispers from an ancient temple under starlight. You hear the echo of footsteps across the marble floors, slow and steady. A voice rises, calm yet resonant, carrying a timeless story across ages. This is the tale of Athena, the eternal goddess of wisdom and divine insight. She is more than myth, more than memory, more than the dust of history. Athena is the spirit of reason, the spark of clarity in times of confusion. She walks not with weapons of destruction, but with the light of knowledge. Her presence is felt in the olive tree's peace, in the weaving of human destiny. She stands as guardian of cities, protector of harmony and quiet strength. Where others rush to chaos, she pauses, she reflects, she guides. The owl flies at her side, seeing through shadows, patient and unblinking. Athena whispers wisdom to poets, to rulers, to dreamers, and to you. She is independence, untouched, eternal, free in her thought and spirit. The Parthenon was her home, but truly, she resides wherever wisdom lives. And so, tonight, let us walk through the veil of time and meet her again. Close your eyes, breathe gently, and step into the eternal story of Athena. In the beginning, there was silence. A silence vast as the sky and deep as the ocean. The world waited, holding its breath, for a new voice to rise among the gods. From the heart of Olympus, a mystery was about to unfold, radiant and eternal. Zeus, the father of gods and mortals, carried a secret hidden within his mind. Not a secret of thunder or storm, but of wisdom waiting to be born. For days and nights, he walked with thought heavy, unseen by others. He was restless, for within him lived a vision, bright and unshakable. The heavens trembled, not with fear, but with anticipation of something divine. And then, as dawn broke, a miracle unlike any other appeared. From the mind of Zeus, in a flash of light, Athena came forth. No cries, no pain, no chaos, only brilliance, pure and sudden. She emerged whole, radiant, crowned with the fire of wisdom everlasting. Her eyes were clear as crystal, her gaze steady as mountains. Her form stood tall, adorned with the glow of divine intelligence. There was no infancy, no fragility, no hesitation in her being. She was born complete, a goddess not of flesh, but of thought. The gods gathered, marveling at the wonder before them. Each whispered in awe, for never before had such a birth been seen. She carried no scars of struggle, only the grace of reason itself. Her first breath was not a cry, but a calm stillness. Her first step echoed like a promise across the heavens. Zeus looked upon her, and pride warmed the skies above. For in Athena, he saw not a child, but an eternal companion of wisdom. The earth rejoiced, the rivers shimmered, and the trees bent gently. Even the stars seemed to lean closer to watch her beginning. The wind whispered her name, carrying it across the world. Athena, daughter of thought, guardian of reason, light of knowledge. Her origin set her apart from all who came before. Born not of womb, but of mind, she was unique among the immortals. She belonged not to chaos, but to clarity, not to instinct, but to intelligence, not to destruction, but to creation. From that moment, her path was clear, her purpose eternal. She would walk beside mortals, guiding them with unseen hand. She would teach rulers to weigh justice with fairness. She would teach dreamers to build, invent, and imagine. She would teach thinkers to ask, to wonder, to seek. Her birth was more than an arrival. It was the dawn of wisdom itself. And as the heavens calmed, Athena lifted her gaze. She looked upon the world below, full of silence and questions. Her heart stirred. not with pride, but with responsibility. She understood she was not born to rule, but to guide, not to demand, but to inspire, not to take, but to give. The gods watched her, still awed, yet she stood unmoved. For Athena knew her strength was not in thunder or fire. Her strength was in thought, in patience, in understanding. She was the mirror in which mortals might see their better selves. The olive tree would one day grow under her gift of peace. The loom would sing under her patronage of craft and art. The cities would rise under her shield of wisdom and order. But in this first moment, she was simply the light of a new beginning. Athena, born from thought, eternal in spirit, unshaken in purpose. She was not the goddess of war, but of reason, not the goddess of conquest, but of guidance, not the goddess of endings, but of eternal beginnings. Her story had just begun, yet already it was timeless. And so, the world turned, carrying her name into every whisper, every library, every council, every hand that weaves or writes. Athena lives in that beginning, and in every beginning after. She is thought made divine, the eternal flame of wisdom. Far below the heavens, mortals built their lives, fragile yet full of promise. Among them was a city, destined to shine, yet still unnamed in its youth. The gods watched with interest, for this city would be a jewel among men. Two great powers, Athena and Poseidon, looked upon it with desire. Each sought to bless it, to guide its people, to claim its heart. Poseidon, lord of the seas, raised his trident high. He struck the earth, and water burst forth fierce and unyielding. From the ground came a spring of salt water, strong but bitter to taste. It roared with the sound of waves, endless and wild as the ocean. The people marveled, yet their hearts grew uncertain. For though the gift was mighty, it held no peace, only the call of storms. Athena stepped forward, calm and radiant, her presence steady as the dawn. She touched the earth, and from the soil rose a slender tree. Its leaves shimmered silver green, its trunk firm yet graceful. It was the olive, humble in stature, yet infinite in worth. The people looked, and they saw life, not destruction, in its branches. They saw food for the hungry, oil for the lamps of night. They saw wood for shelter, shade for weary travelers, and roots unshaken. This was a gift not of force, but of balance and renewal. The gods gazed upon her gift, and silence fell over Olympus. Zeus himself judged with fairness, weighing both offerings with care. And so it was decided. The city would belong to Athena. It would carry her name, Athens, a tribute to wisdom everlasting. The people rejoiced, not with war cries, but with songs of gratitude. They planted groves of olive trees, sacred to their protector. Each tree was a promise, each leaf a reminder of her guidance. Athena looked upon them, not with pride, but with gentle resolve. She had given them more than a gift. She had given them a future where wisdom would be the shield and peace the weapon. The olive tree stood as a living covenant between goddess and mortals. Its roots grew deep, binding the people to the earth and to her. Its branches reached skyward, stretching toward light and eternity. In its shade, children would play, and elders would rest in peace. In its oil, lamps would burn, chasing shadows from the night. In its fruit, hunger would fade, replaced by strength and joy. The people learned from this gift, seeing its lesson clearly. True strength was not thunder or tempest, but quiet endurance. True power was not domination, but the ability to nurture life. Athena walked among them in spirit, though unseen to mortal eyes. She whispered in their thoughts, guiding them to build with wisdom. Streets rose straight and strong, temples lifted in harmony with the sky, The Parthenon, in ages to come, would rise as her eternal home. But in this beginning, it was the olive that spoke most clearly. It was her signature, her mark upon the earth, her silent vow. The city grew under her watch, its people thriving in her light. Athens became not only a place, but an idea, radiant and unending. An idea that wisdom is wealth, peace is power, and balance is survival. And so, wherever the olive grew, Athena's presence lingered. In every branch, in every harvest, her spirit was remembered. The people of Athens carried her in their hearts, generation to generation. She was not distant, not unreachable, but ever present in their lives. When they debated, they sought her clarity. When they created, they sought her inspiration. When they faltered, they remembered her gift. The spring of Poseidon still flowed, restless and untamed. But it was the olive tree that endured, calm and eternal. It stood as a beacon, a symbol of the choice once made. A choice not for power, but for wisdom. Not for storm, but for peace. Not for fleeting might, but for lasting harmony. And so, Athens became hers, and she became theirs. Together, they walked through time, goddess and city, inseparable. And wherever wisdom was chosen over chaos, Athena smiled. The olive tree swayed gently, as if in eternal agreement, and the story of a city, born under her light, began to unfold. Wisdom is not thunder, nor is it flame, yet it shapes the world more deeply than either. Athena knew this truth from the first moment she gazed upon mortals below. She saw their struggles, not with monsters or storms, but with themselves. They quarreled, they doubted, they rushed blindly into choices without foresight. Athena understood that true guidance was not in command, but in clarity. She was not sent to rule mortals, but to awaken their better judgment. And so she became not only their guardian, but their teacher in balance. She taught them that every choice carried weight, every action left echoes. To act with wisdom was to see the unseen, to listen before speaking, to measure not just gain, but consequence, not just speed, but direction. Athena whispered into the hearts of rulers who sat with heavy crowns. She reminded them that leadership was not power, but responsibility. That fairness must stand taller than pride, and justice greater than anger. She guided councils, teaching patience where voices burned with fury. She taught that words could be sharper than swords, yet heal more deeply. For her, wisdom was not silence, but measured speech at the right time. It was not weakness, but strength wrapped in calm resolve. Mortals began to see her not as distant, but as present in thought. When they hesitated, they felt her steady hand upon their minds. When they wavered, they remembered her calm voice in their hearts. She was balance, the weight that steadied the scales of human life. Athena also showed them the value of harmony with the world around. She pointed to the stars, and men learned to map their voyages. She pointed to the earth, and they learned to till, to plant, to reap. She pointed to the mind itself, and they learned to question, to seek. She reminded them that wisdom was not one gift, but many paths. It was in craft, in justice, in art, in song, in vision. She cherished the owl, whose eyes pierced the darkness of night. Through this bird, she showed mortals the value of silent observation. The owl saw without haste, moved without noise, judged without vanity. It became her emblem, and in it, mortals found a lesson. See not only what lies before you, but what hides beyond the shadow. Listen not only to words, but to silence between them. Judge not with anger, but with clarity, steady as the night sky. Athena herself never demanded temples at first, never sought worship. Her true altar was the mind, the place where thoughts are born. Yet mortals, in gratitude, built shrines and lit fires in her honor. They called to her in debates, in councils, in moments of decision. Her spirit grew woven into the fabric of cities and their people. She became the goddess of balance, revered for her calm guidance. Athena did not reject strength, but she placed it beneath reason. She did not forbid courage, but she joined it with foresight. She did not dismiss ambition, but she tempered it with fairness. And thus mortals grew, not only in power, but in understanding. They saw that wisdom is the bridge between dream and reality. That foresight is the root of peace, and patience the seed of growth. In her presence, kings became just, builders became creators, thinkers became philosophers. Athena rejoiced not in praise, but in their awakening. She saw each spark of wisdom as proof her purpose was fulfilled. For in every act of fairness, she was alive. In every careful choice, she was remembered. In every quiet reflection, she was reborn again. The world began to change, not by fire or storm, but by thought. And Athena, eternal goddess, stood at the center of it all. She was the balance unseen, the wisdom unspoken, the guide eternal. Her name was not only in temples, but in the minds of mortals. And so her lesson became clear. Wisdom is the greatest power of all. Athena was not only the goddess of wisdom, she was the goddess of craft and creation. She knew that the mind was not meant only to think, but also to shape and build. For what is thought if it cannot find its way into hands, into tools, into life? So she gave mortals the gift of weaving, of turning threads into stories and shelter. The loom became her sacred symbol, as important as the owl or the olive tree. For the loom was more than wood and string. It was a map of existence itself. Each thread was a choice, each pattern a destiny, each color a moment remembered. She showed mortals that weaving was not only for cloth, but for meaning. The fabric carried warmth, but also the silent record of human imagination. Every woven cloth was a book without words, a story told in texture and hue. Athena moved quietly through workshops where hands worked in rhythm. She guided fingers to steadiness, teaching patience with every thread. The shuttle flew across the loom, echoing the heartbeat of creation. Through this, mortals learned diligence, harmony, and the beauty of subtle order. Athena's presence was felt not in thunder, but in the quiet hum of craft. She valued work done with care more than any monument of stone. For in craft, the soul of the maker shone clearly, delicate and eternal. Legends tell of a maiden named Arachne, skilled beyond measure in weaving. Her cloth glowed with colors richer than dawn, her figures sharper than sculpture. Yet Arachne, proud of her gift, forgot that skill itself is a gift from the divine. She claimed mastery as her own, dismissing Athena's guiding hand. The people whispered of her boldness, wondering if the goddess would answer. Athena came, not with anger, but with calm curiosity, disguised as an old woman. She asked Arachne to show humility, to honor the source of her gift. But Arachne refused, her pride weaving a pattern darker than any cloth. So Athena revealed herself, radiant and solemn, and a contest was begun. The looms stood ready, the threads drawn, and silence fell upon all watching. Athena wove a tapestry of balance, of gods guiding mortals with care. Her cloth shimmered with harmony, justice, and wisdom unshaken. Arachne's tapestry was flawless too, but heavy with defiance and scorn. She wove the flaws of gods, the shadows of their choices, bold and unyielding. The skill was equal, but the heart behind the craft was not. Athena looked, and in her wisdom saw both mastery and pride's danger. She touched Arachne gently, not with rage, but with sorrowful clarity. The maiden's skill was undeniable, yet her spirit was blinded by vanity. So Athena transformed her, not as punishment, but as lesson eternal. Arachne became the spider, still weaving, but forever in humble silence. Her webs sparkled with dew like threads of silver in the morning sun. It was no curse, but a reminder that creation must carry respect within it. Through this tale, mortals learned that craft without humility is empty, that the hands may weave beauty, but the heart must weave truth. Athena remained guardian of artisans, of potters, of builders, of all who create. She walked unseen in the workshops where clay met fire, where stone met chisel. She whispered in the ears of artists, reminding them to serve beauty, not pride. She showed that every craft was sacred, every creation a reflection of mind. Through her, mortals came to see that to create was to honor the divine spark, that every pattern, every shape, was a fragment of the eternal design. In the quiet of the loom's song, Athena's presence is always near. In the patience of the artisan's hands, her wisdom lingers, calm and clear. She teaches that to weave is to live, to shape is to remember, that every thread connects past to present, present to future, mortal to divine. And so the goddess of craft walked eternally beside her people, guiding their hands, guiding their hearts, weaving their destinies together. Athena, the weaver of knowledge, the guardian of creation, eternal and wise. Long ago, the lands of Greece were young, untamed, and filled with voices of gods and mortals. Among these lands was a rocky hill by the sea, a place that would one day be called Athens. But before it bore that name, it was a city without a patron, a place waiting for destiny. The people prayed for a guide, a divine protector who would shape their future with care. And so, two mighty beings turned their gaze upon this land, Athena and Poseidon. Poseidon, lord of the seas, tall and proud, with a voice that roared like waves. Athena, serene and wise, her eyes clear as dawn, her presence calm as still waters. Both desired to bless the city, to bind its people with their gifts forever. But the people could choose only one, for one protector would guide their fate. The gods gathered, the mortals watched, and silence stretched across the hill. Poseidon was the first to step forward, his trident shining in the sun. He struck the ground with power, and the rocks split with thunderous sound. From the crack, water burst forth clear and rushing, a fountain of the sea. It sparkled under the sky, a gift of Poseidon, a promise of strength and might. The people gasped, awed by the sight, by the raw force of the ocean's lord. He declared, "With me, your city will rule the seas, unchallenged and free." Yet as they touched the water, their smiles faded, for it was salty and bitter. The sea's gift was vast, but it could not quench thirst nor feed the hungry. Then came Athena, quiet, with no thunder, no roar, only stillness. She knelt upon the earth and pressed her hand into the soil. From that touch grew a slender tree, its leaves silver in the sun. The olive tree rose tall, bearing fruit, modest, but filled with promise. Athena spoke softly. "This gift will bring peace, nourishment, and light." The people tasted its fruit, rich with oil, gentle yet enduring. They saw that it fed the body, warmed the home, and healed the weary. It was not a gift of force, but of life, steady and eternal. The people gathered, hearts stirred not by thunder, but by wisdom. They chose Athena, the goddess of reason, to be their eternal guardian. Poseidon turned away, his pride wounded, but Athena bowed with grace. She did not gloat, for wisdom does not triumph through boast, but through truth. Thus, the city took her name, Athens, a living temple to her gift. The olive tree remained, rooted on the Acropolis, a symbol of her presence. It stood as a promise that wisdom, not power, shapes the heart of a people. Through this gift, Athens flourished, rich in thought, art, and peace. The olive oil lit their lamps, nourished their bodies, blessed their offerings. It carried them through seasons, through trials, through dreams of the future. Athena watched over the city with patient eyes, proud yet protective. She whispered in their councils, guided their builders, blessed their poets. She reminded them always that power fades, but wisdom endures. That a city of thought would outlast storms, wars, and the turning of time. And so Athens became more than a city. It became an idea, an eternal vision, an idea born not from the sea's roar, but from the quiet strength of a tree. For Athena's gift was more than branches and leaves. It was a way of life. It taught that true greatness is not in conquest, but in harmony, not in ruling seas, but in ruling oneself with balance and reason. The people honored her with temples, songs, and endless devotion. They told the tale of the contest, passing it from voice to voice, age to age, always ending with the tree standing tall, defying time, rooted in wisdom. And when night falls on Athens, the wind through olive leaves whispers her name. Athena, eternal goddess, chosen of the city, guardian of harmony. Her gift still lives, in fruit, in oil, in memory, in every act of thought. The city and the goddess became one, forever bound by that ancient promise. The tree still stands, they say, on the sacred rock, touched by her hand. It reminds all who see it that wisdom, once planted, grows eternal, and that Athens, blessed by Athena, carries her light forever in its heart. In the heart of Athens, beneath skies that shifted from gold to deep indigo, Athena's spirit lingered always. The Parthenon rose in her honor, marble columns gleaming like frozen rays of sunlight. It was not only a temple, but a promise carved in stone, a living monument to wisdom. Each column stood tall as a sentinel, guarding the city, reflecting harmony in its design. Builders labored with care, not haste, for they knew their hands served eternity. Every stone was measured, every carving precise, as though guided by unseen hands. The air around the Acropolis carried a hush, as if touched by divinity itself. Here, mortals met the divine not with fear, but with reverence and wonder. The Parthenon was more than walls, but it was the city's soul made visible. Inside, a great statue of Athena stood, radiant in gold and ivory. Her eyes, calm yet commanding, seemed to see both past and future. In one hand she held victory, in the other, a spear of guidance and strength. The shield at her side bore stories of gods and men carved into timeless memory. Yet her face, serene and composed, reminded all that wisdom tempers power. Citizens entered with quiet steps, carrying offerings, not of conquest, but of gratitude. They laid olive branches at her feet, fruits of her gift, symbols of peace. They whispered prayers for guidance and counsel, for clarity in judgment, for harmony in life. Athena's presence was felt in the stillness, in the flicker of oil lamps on marble. She was not a goddess distant and untouchable. She was a guardian close and near. Children learned her name before they learned to write, speaking it with gentle awe. Fathers and mothers taught that wisdom was a greater inheritance than gold. Poets sang of her gifts, weaving her story into verses carried by the wind. Philosophers sat in shaded courtyards, seeking truth, invoking her as silent muse. For Athens was not merely a city of walls and streets. It was a city of thought. It was a place where reason became law, where ideas took root and blossomed. Athena's spirit guided this flowering, patient and steady as the olive tree. She was the unseen hand behind debates that shaped the mind of a people. She whispered through the voices of teachers, urging questions, urging reflection. Through her, Athens learned that greatness lay not in domination, but in understanding. That strength was found not in armies, but in the courage to think deeply. The Parthenon became a beacon, drawing travelers from lands near and far. They climbed the hill, their steps heavy with awe, their hearts lifted with wonder. They looked upon the city and felt that they stood at the center of reason. Athena's temple was not only for Athenians, it was for all who sought wisdom. Her story stretched beyond the stones, beyond the city, beyond time itself. It became a reminder that knowledge is sacred, that thought is divine. And so the Parthenon glowed in the light of dawn, a crown upon the Acropolis. At night, under stars, it seemed to breathe, alive with the whispers of history. Each stone told of hands that shaped it, of dreams that built it, of hope eternal. Athena, though unseen, was always there, her gaze steady, her spirit present. The city was hers, and she was the city, bound in a union of trust. No storm could shake that bond. No shadow could erase her light. Even as time passed and empires rose and fell, her temple endured. Though weather wore the stones, though centuries bent the marble, her essence remained. The Parthenon, like the olive tree, stood as her eternal promise. A promise that wisdom, once planted, takes root beyond the reach of time. That beauty shaped by thought, by patience, by care, never truly fades. And so, Athens lived under her watch, guided by her eternal presence. Not only in marble, not only in gold, but in the spirit of every citizen. For Athena's true temple was not built by hands, but within the human mind. The Parthenon was its symbol, but the soul of wisdom lived in those who sought truth. And in every age, under every sky, her story would continue to shine. Athena, eternal goddess, guardian of the Parthenon, guardian of thought everlasting. Athena was not only a guardian of temples and cities, but a guide in the battles of the mind and heart. She taught mortals that the truest victories were won not with swords, but with wisdom and patience. When conflicts rose among rulers, she stepped into their councils as a voice of reason. Her presence was subtle, never forcing, but always steady like a hand upon the shoulder. She reminded kings that glory fades, but justice endures in memory. She whispered to generals that a war avoided was a triumph greater than any conquest. Her wisdom carried weight, for even the proudest leaders could not ignore her calm light. In times of dispute, she taught mortals to listen as much as they spoke. She showed them that silence could be sharper than argument and reflection stronger than rage. Athena loved debate, for in dialogue she saw the weaving of thought into truth. She sat unseen among philosophers as they gathered beneath olive trees. Their voices rose with questions, bold and searching, never satisfied with easy answers. Socrates, Plato, and countless others felt her breath in their search for reason. They did not call her by name, but they followed the path she set before them. Athena's wisdom was not distant, but alive in every question that dared to seek more. She was the courage behind the words, the quiet fire behind the thought. To argue with respect was to honor her. To think deeply was to walk with her. And through these debates, Athens became a city of philosophy as much as of stone. The people learned that to question was not rebellion, but devotion to truth. Athena inspired not only words, but actions born of careful thought. When leaders weighed laws, she urged them to balance mercy with firmness. She guided lawmakers to see beyond pride, to consider the lives of the people. She taught that law without wisdom was tyranny, but law with wisdom was justice. Thus, Athens grew into a beacon of order, admired by all who sought fairness. Athena also blessed the courts, where voices clashed and decisions shaped lives. She encouraged fairness, reminding judges to listen not only with ears, but with hearts. Her spirit lingered in every sentence spoken, every choice made for the greater good. Athena's wisdom extended beyond rulers and philosophers to ordinary lives. She whispered to mothers raising children, urging patience and gentle strength. She blessed farmers with insight, teaching them the rhythm of seasons and soil. She guided craftsmen to see their work not as labor, but as devotion to beauty. Athena's wisdom was not a treasure hidden in temples. It was woven into daily life. Every lamp lit by olive oil carried her light. Every book copied bore her spirit. She was there when a child asked why, when a poet shaped a verse, when a teacher explained. Through her, the people of Athens learned that wisdom was not for the few, but for all. She showed them that greatness was not in birth or title, but in the courage to learn. Athena's gift was the spark that turned curiosity into discovery, questions into knowledge. Her city thrived not because of armies or wealth, but because of ideas that endured. And as mortals shared these ideas, her influence spread far beyond Athens. Travelers carried stories of her wisdom to distant lands, planting seeds of thought. Her voice echoed in libraries, in schools, in gatherings where truth was sought. Wherever minds searched for reason, Athena walked among them, silent and eternal. She was not bound to one city, one temple, one people. She belonged to all who thought. And so the goddess of wisdom became the eternal muse of human progress. She whispered that true strength lies in balance, that true power is knowledge. She reminded mortals that every choice shapes not only today, but generations to come. Her lesson was clear. Wisdom is not only to know, but to act with care and clarity. And as long as her story is told, Athena's voice will guide the seeking heart. For wisdom never dies. It grows, it flows, it shines with eternal light. And Athena, eternal goddess, remains its guardian, steady and everlasting. Athena's wisdom was not confined to halls of power or temples of stone. It lived in the hands of creators. She cherished the spark of imagination, the silent birth of beauty from simple tools and humble craft. Among her greatest gifts was the art of weaving, delicate threads forming stories of the cosmos. With loom and fiber, mortals learned to mirror the patterns of stars and the flow of rivers. Every fabric told a tale. Every design carried whispers of balance, harmony, and hidden meaning. Athena guided hands patiently, teaching that true creation begins with patience and vision. She reminded them that beauty is not found in haste, but in detail and care. Her weaving was not only art, but a lesson of life. Every thread a choice, every pattern a destiny. Mortals came to see that their lives too were woven, line by line, into a greater design. The craft became sacred, a way of honoring both the goddess and the order of the world. Weavers whispered prayers before looms, seeking her presence in every strand of color. And in their silence, they felt her, a gentle guidance flowing through their fingertips. Athena also blessed builders, who carved homes, temples, and pathways from stone. She inspired them to see stone not as cold weight, but as eternal memory. Each column raised was a poem of endurance, each arch a hymn to balance. Her influence made architecture not only useful but graceful, enduring symbols of wisdom. The Parthenon itself rose as her eternal dwelling, a temple of beauty and strength. Every carved frieze told stories, every statue reflected her eternal calm. But beyond great temples, she walked with humble artisans, potters shaping clay. In the curve of each vessel, in the painting of each figure, her wisdom shone. The simplest jug became a vessel of history, carrying both water and meaning. Athena taught that creation was not only for grandeur, but for the dignity of daily life. The hands of artisans shaped culture as surely as rulers shaped laws. In their work, she saw the quiet power of beauty that outlasts time. Athena also touched poets, gifting them with words woven as finely as silk. Each verse became a thread of thought, binding hearts across generations. Poets felt her as a muse, whispering of courage, balance, and eternal seeking. Their words echoed her lessons. Wisdom shines brighter when shared. And so Athens became not only a city of stone, but a city of song and craft. Every marketplace rang with stories, every workshop hummed with quiet devotion. Athena's spirit wove through it all, unseen yet undeniable. To create was to honor her. To imagine was to walk in her shadow. Her love for craft was also a love for order, for beauty that serves life with grace. She saw creation as balance, the harmony of mind and hand, thought and action. Her gifts taught mortals that progress is not chaos, but thoughtful design. She reminded them that the greatest legacies are not wars won, but works left behind. A vessel, a poem, a temple, a cloth. These carried voices across centuries, and in each, Athena lived, eternal in artistry as in wisdom. She was present in every brushstroke, every chisel mark, every woven thread. Through her, mortals touched something greater, something eternal. Athena's presence in creation was a promise. Wisdom takes form in beauty, and beauty, once born, carries wisdom farther than words alone. She showed them that creativity is not separate from wisdom, but its living branch. And as long as humans create, Athena will stand beside them, not in shadow, but in light, guiding hands, minds, and hearts. For every work of beauty is an offering, and every offering is eternal. Thus the goddess of wisdom became also the goddess of creation. Her name whispered not only in temples, but in workshops, markets, and homes. Athena's gift was the reminder that wisdom lives not only in thought, but in what we make. And so, her story continued, woven into every craft, sung in every verse, built in every stone. Eternal, patient, and guiding, Athena shaped creation, and through it, the soul of humanity. Athena's wisdom stretched far beyond the city walls, reaching into the open fields and quiet villages. She was not only the goddess of scholars and rulers, but also a companion to farmers and workers. Athena gave them the olive tree, a symbol of peace, nourishment, and resilience. Its fruit fed bodies, its oil lit lamps, its wood built homes, and its branches crowned victors. Through this gift, she reminded mortals that prosperity is rooted in patience and care. The olive tree grew slowly, yet steadily, teaching that true wealth takes time to flourish. It endured storms and droughts, standing tall as a lesson of endurance and quiet strength. For the farmer, Athena was a teacher, showing him to respect the cycles of the earth. She whispered that the soil is not conquered, but partnered with, in balance and harmony. Each seed planted was a promise, each harvest a reminder of patience, rewarded. Athena's wisdom turned labor into devotion, transforming toil into a sacred rhythm of life. She also guided shepherds, reminding them that their flocks thrived through care, not force. She showed them that gentleness leads to loyalty, and patience builds abundance. Even in the humblest fields, Athena walked unseen, her wisdom flowing like the wind. She blessed the fishermen who studied the tides and learned from the sea's quiet language. She taught that the ocean, like wisdom, gives to those who listen with humility. The nets, cast with patience, brought gifts not only of fish, but of survival and gratitude. Athena's lessons spread through every corner of life, touching even the smallest act. Lighting a lamp became a moment of honor, for its oil carried the gift of her tree. Cooking with its fruit became a ritual of gratitude, a connection to her eternal spirit. In the stillness of rural homes, Athena's wisdom was not distant, but close and gentle. Her gift was not gold or treasure, but the simple abundance of life itself. She taught that greatness is not only in power, but in the quiet dignity of survival. Athena's presence reminded mortals that wisdom is lived, not only spoken. She showed them that every action, no matter how small, carried meaning. To nurture the earth was to honor her. To waste it was to turn from her guidance. Through the olive tree, she embodied peace, urging mortals to seek harmony with each other. Its branches became tokens of reconciliation, its oil an offering of friendship. When cities quarreled, they looked to her symbol, seeking resolution through calm wisdom. Athena never demanded lavish temples in every field, for the olive grove was her shrine. The rows of trees swaying in the breeze were prayers written in living form. In their shade, mortals found rest, reflection, and a touch of the divine. Athena taught that wisdom was not confined to marble halls, but lived in soil and sun. She whispered that knowledge without compassion is barren, like a seed left unplanted. She reminded mortals that to care for the earth was to care for each other. And so, farmers, shepherds, and fishermen carried her lessons into their daily lives. Their work became more than survival. It became a sacred connection to the goddess. Athena's influence made their tasks not burdens, but honors, woven with meaning. The olive tree, once a gift, grew into a symbol that spanned nations and ages. Its roots sank deep, binding the earth, while its branches reached toward the heavens. It stood as Athena's eternal promise. Peace, wisdom, and endurance will prevail. Travelers carried olive branches as signs of safety, of goodwill, and shared humanity. Its oil burned in lamps that lit both homes and sacred places, carrying her light. And through it, Athena's wisdom spread quietly, steadily, endlessly. She was the eternal companion of those who lived simply, yet deeply. She showed them that their lives, though humble, carried beauty beyond measure. Athena's gift was not only the tree, but the understanding it carried. She whispered that true richness lies not in excess, but in sufficiency and peace. And in the quiet of olive groves, her spirit lingers still, eternal and gentle. The goddess of wisdom is also the goddess of daily life, of work, of sustenance. And in every harvest, every flame, every shared meal, Athena is remembered. Her voice echoes in the rustle of olive leaves, soft, patient, and eternal. Athena's wisdom was not only a gift for daily life, but also a compass for the spirit. She guided mortals in their search for meaning, helping them balance heart and mind. In temples and quiet shrines, she taught that prayer was not only words, but reflection. She whispered that true devotion is not found in ritual alone, but in thought and action. Athena reminded mortals that to know oneself was the beginning of true wisdom. She guided seekers to look inward, to ask not only what is the world, but who am I? Her lessons made spirituality not distant, but deeply personal and alive. She was present when a philosopher sat in silence, lost in thought under the stars. She was there when a mother looked at her child and felt the mystery of love. Athena inspired the courage to ask questions that had no simple answers. She taught that wisdom grows not from certainty but from the willingness to explore. And so, in Athens and beyond, seekers of truth walked paths shaped by her light. Athena also stood as a guardian of balance between reason and faith. She did not deny the gods, nor did she silence human thought. Instead, she taught that belief and reason could walk hand in hand. The divine was not distant, but reflected in the pursuit of justice and knowledge. Through her, mortals learned that the sacred is not separate from the everyday. Every act of kindness was worship. Every pursuit of truth was prayer. She reminded them that wisdom itself was divine, a light bridging gods and mortals. Athena's presence gave courage to those who felt small before the vastness of life. She taught them that even the quiet soul, seeking with honesty, honors the divine. She showed that greatness lies not in being above others, but in living with clarity. Through her guidance, spirituality became not fear of gods, but harmony with truth. She taught mortals that divinity is not only to be revered, but to be mirrored. When they acted with wisdom, they reflected the divine spark she carried. When they showed compassion, they echoed the balance she embodied. Athena's lessons shaped a vision of faith rooted in dignity and thought. She whispered that the gods need not be feared, but understood, and that to honor them was to live with wisdom, not only bow with ritual. This vision spread, making Athens a city where spirit and reason thrived together. Her people learned that the sacred was not confined to altars, but lived in choices. A fair judgment was an offering, a wise law, a hymn, a kind word, a prayer. Athena's wisdom became a bridge between the visible and the invisible. She stood between the world of gods and the world of mortals, uniting them in meaning. And so, in every temple, she was honored not only as a goddess, but as a guide. Her statues were not only stone, but symbols of eternal thought and balance. Her presence gave hope that the human spirit could rise toward the divine. Athena's wisdom also shaped how mortals faced death and the unknown. She taught that mortality was not to be feared, but understood as part of life's pattern. Like threads in a tapestry, each life ended, but the design endured forever. She whispered that the soul's journey was not an ending, but a continuation unseen. Her lesson was gentle. What matters is not how long one lives, but how wisely. Through this teaching, mortals found comfort, courage, and peace in the face of mystery. Athena stood beside them, steady, reminding them that wisdom outlasts time. She showed that even when the body fades, the light of truth remains, eternal. Her presence became a promise. Wisdom connects mortal hearts to the eternal. And in this promise, mortals found strength to live with courage, hope, and grace. Thus, Athena became not only a goddess of wisdom, but of the soul's journey. She was the voice in silence, the calm in fear, the light in darkness. Her gift was not certainty, but the courage to walk into mystery with peace. And so, the goddess remained eternal, not only in temples, but in human hearts. She was the compass for seekers, the light for the lost, the guardian of the soul. Athena, eternal and wise, stood forever as the bridge between earth and eternity. The story of Athena does not end, for her wisdom moves through time like a quiet river, She is more than a goddess of the past. She is a presence that lingers in every age. Her name may change, her statues may crumble, but her spirit remains unshaken. For wisdom cannot be bound to stone or scroll. It lives in every thoughtful heart. Athena's voice is heard when a leader chooses justice over pride. It echoes when a teacher inspires a child to see beyond the surface of things. It whispers when an artist shapes beauty from silence, or a writer seeks truth in words. Her gift is not locked in myth, but alive in the choices mortals make each day. She is there in the courage to question, in the patience to learn, in the will to create. Athena's eternal light shines in acts of compassion, reason, and harmony. Wherever balance is sought, she is present, guiding unseen but steady. She does not command with thunder, nor demand with fear. Instead, she leads with gentleness, like a star pointing north. Her temple is no longer only in Athens, but in every place of thought and truth. Each library is a shrine, each honest debate a hymn, each wise law a prayer. Athena's eternal temple is the human mind itself, ever reaching for clarity. Her worship is not only ritual, but the pursuit of fairness and understanding. And so, her legacy is not frozen in time, but woven into the fabric of human growth. Athena's endurance lies not in battles won, but in wisdom carried forward. Generations rise and fall, yet her presence endures like an unbroken flame. The wise still call her name, not in fear, but in reverence for what she represents. She stands as a symbol of the bond between mortal thought and divine truth. Her essence reminds us that knowledge is not power alone, but responsibility, that wisdom is not possession, but service to a greater good. Her gift is to remind humanity that every choice shapes the world anew. In quiet moments of reflection, mortals still feel her near. A student studying late hears her encouragement in the silence. A judge facing a hard choice senses her calm hand guiding justice. A traveler seeking meaning feels her presence in the path ahead. These are not mere imaginings, but echoes of her eternal voice. She is timeless because wisdom itself is timeless. Athena's legacy teaches that every age must seek its own balance. For truth is not a relic, but a living flame passed from heart to heart. She reminds us that the divine is not distant, but woven into daily life. Every thoughtful act is an offering, every honest word a prayer. Athena lives not only in the grand, but in the small and unseen, in kindness given without reward, in questions asked with courage. She teaches that greatness begins in the heart before it reaches the world. So the tale of Athena closes, yet it never truly ends. For every ending is also a beginning, and her story is written in all who learn. Her name is carved not only on temples, but on the spirit of humanity. The eternal goddess Athena remains, not only as myth, but as a mirror reminding us of who we are and who we may become. And as long as wisdom is cherished, her light will not fade. Athena walks beside us, unseen yet near, patient and steadfast. She is the eternal companion of every soul seeking truth. And so, we leave her story with reverence, knowing it continues in us. Athena, eternal and wise, remains the guiding star of the human spirit.